Curiosity is often a passion for some, though it is always a reality for all. Pandora's box was opened out of pure curiosity. The first apple ever eaten was also eaten out of pure curiosity. It is true that women committed such crimes, but it is also true that men are not far behind, with the difference that history does not tell us of great crimes committed out of curiosity, whose perpetrator was not a woman. Witness the sin of eating apples, which has spread from Mother Eve, who set the example to the present day in a horrifying way, and with an inevitable contagion that spares neither age nor sex. It is not so much a problem that curiosity does not produce such havoc when it motivates men. In the end, it only drives them to explore and discover unknown regions where they often get lost, like Sir John Franklin in the polar snows, and so many others who, on the wings of philosophy or on the back of Pegasus, have landed at the most ardent heights of a hothead. Be that as it may, curiosity is the most useful instinct the human species possesses. Without it, we would not have inhabited this world of good and evil, and we would have had to rot in the eternal springtime of the earthly paradise. Without it, we would lack as many discoveries as the curious have made in the realms of the spirit and in the regions of the globe. That instinct excuses me, for the day after my encounter with that curious man, I did not think, see, hear, or do anything other than to satisfy the burning curiosity with which such a being had infected me. That afternoon, it rained, as is usual in Valparaiso, from side to side, and even from bottom to top, with the force of a capricious hurricane that blows without adherence to any law or rule. Then, neither clogs nor umbrellas are of any use, only a good resolve to set out into those streets, which rival the sea for their currents. I made that resolution, and by 4 o'clock I was already seated at the same table at the Eagle where I had met the object of my passion. The inn was sparsely populated, and the owner chewed tobacco, leaning his entire bulk on his arms, which he held crossed and pressed together on the counter, behind which he stood. He gazed sadly at the door, through which strong gusts of rain sometimes entered instead of customers, driven by the wind. His gaze was fixed and steady, like lifeless eyes. His face was swarthy, round, and hairy, crossed by a wide mouth from which torrents of chewed tobacco juice often spewed. A sailor's wax cap crowned the scene. After an hour had passed, I began to despair of my hope, and since I had drunk and paid for enough coffee, I felt I had the right to question the owner, and I did so very affably, talking about the weather, a necessary topic in all cases where there is nothing to talk about, or where one needs to engage in conversation with another. But the boss did not answer me. All he did was look at me with that contempt with which the English, or their descendants, the Yankees, look at all those who speak to them in Spanish. My pride stung a little. I raised my voice again, repeating in English what the boss had previously said in Spanish. Then he loosened the restraints upon his rigid and motionless facial features, and began a conversation with the utmost familiarity, as if I were with an old acquaintance. Tell me, who is that man with whom I had coffee yesterday at this table? That is a man who has come several times to have coffee at the Eagle. Don't you know him? Oh, yes, for a long time. He has been coming here for days, and all of my customers have seen him drinking coffee and gin. What is his name? Mr. Livingston. Oh, he pays very well and drinks a lot, and he always pays in old ounces, or coins. Could you tell me about him? Oh, Mr. Livingston drinks a lot of coffee. He looks like a Frenchman, but he pays very well. Is Mr. Livingston English? Oh, he speaks English very well. Where did he come from? He comes from the Hotel Europa every day to drink coffee. But from what country did he come to Valparaiso? Oh, Mr. Livingston has been here a long time, but only in the last few days has he become a regular at the Eagle, because of the good coffee served here. I soon wearied of interrogating that tobacco-bearing mass, and with no hope of advancing my investigations, I decided to go to the Hotel Europa itself, a supreme resolution, as it offered me the shortest route to my discovery. I said goodbye to the owner and started walking toward the town hall square. The hotel courtyard was flooded and its staircase battered by the rain, but nothing deterred me. I made my way through dark, silent passages to the landlady's home, led by a boy who worked at the house. She was a French woman, wearing a cap, of course, of a very odd optical shape, for she represented nothing more or less than one of those dolls perched on a bale of hay, which move in all directions, depending on the impulse. Without being able to define her appearance, and without a detailed view of her lines, because the light was very dim, I immediately went directly to my point. With a word you will understand that she met my attack with a flood, with a deluge of phrases of all calibers. That, I assure you, terrified me. And if my curiosity had not been so great, I might have considered myself defeated by that treble voice, which issued from a larynx that had been in continuous use for not less than 70 years. When I mentioned Mr. Livingston, she, as if she had been in love with the Englishman, sighed tenderly, and between exclamations and gestures, assured me that he had left that same morning for Santiago, with no more clothing than his overcoat and a blanket, and as the latch is loosened when the millstone begins to roll, she released herself, saying, "And look here, sir, Mr. William, that is Miss Livingston's name. He did not leave as his real self, but on foot, even though he has enough money to pay for all the carriages he wants. He carried his clothing over his shoulder, and with his face always smiling, set off walking after he had paid his bill at the hotel. Mr. Livingston is a very extraordinary man. He talks to the spirits, does not sleep, laughs to himself, goes for walks at midnight, locks himself in during the day, has no luggage, and yet he has plenty of money in his pocket. He speaks every language, knows everything, is curious about nothing, tells many stories, but does not talk to everyone. He only opened his heart to me. He only conversed with me, as can be seen. We have known each other for so many years. When I arrived in Chile with my husband Ferran, when I was still very young, he was the cashier at Monsieur Waddington's house, and he was one of the first guests we had at the Hotel de France, which Ferran established. I met him then. I talked to him, and we became great friends. One day he suddenly disappeared, and I did not see him again until a few days ago when he appeared here. I let him know that I was a widow, because Ferran decided to take his head off with a pistol shot. I told him my story. He just listened to me, and today he has gone away without talking about these things again. The landlady sighed, and I felt dizzy.